I have, hi, how you doing, Summer? I have started and exited five of my own companies in the past. I'm still an angel investor in a couple of businesses now. I've also started and buried a couple of unsuccessful companies, so I know how to fail forward and I understand the process of burying your company. Yeah, so those are the things that have helped me to learn, I think, not just the basics, but some really important tips and tricks, some tweaks and things you're going to want to pay attention to as an entrepreneur, especially if you're starting your first business. So we're just waiting to welcome everybody in. We'll give a couple more minutes. I will start sharply at about 11:06 just to give people a chance to come into the event. All right. So if you don't mind, in the webinar chat, you can send your greetings. Also, please feel free to post your questions. I will do what I can to get to them. And yeah, we've got an hour for this. So, I mean, there's so much to learn about business strategy and startup strategy, and an hour is certainly not enough time. But it's enough time for us to get, some of the basics down. I want to make sure that I give you guys all of the basics, and as well as some of my most important lessons. Hi, Alex. Good to see you. Yep. Awesome. Hayat, good to see you as well. Amr, good to see you. Irina, thank you for climbing in here. This is going to be great. Wajha, welcome. How are you? Excellent. We're just going to give a couple more minutes for people to find their way in, because we only made the link live just like 3 or 4 minutes ago. So yeah, brilliant. I have been with hi Gordana, how are you? I have been with Creative Zone for I think 7 years now, maybe 8 years. It's been a long time. And actually, I have, I think, probably the smallest company in all of Creative Zone. It was intentional because I've already started and exited my companies, and I've earned the right to do whatever I want. So I have an employee roster of one. It's really in my company. I'm the only employee in my trade license, and I love it that way. And we can talk about that too, how I get everything done with only one employee, which is me, which means that, if I have an argument with my boss, I can easily win. But he's a jerk, so I don't often pick a fight with him. What about you? You're the same, hey? Awesome. Gordana, circular economy companies. I'm afraid you're going to have to explain that to me, because I think there's 3 different definitions of circular economy that are popular in the media now. So which of the definitions are you following? I'm just going to get my slides up here and start to share my screen with you. All right. Perfect. So you can all see my screen, I'm hoping. Yes, definitely. I will share my LinkedIn. .com/in/Corrie Block. Please connect with me and follow me on LinkedIn. I'm constantly producing content for you, just management, leadership, strategy, business, and it's all aimed at making money, right? There's lots of different ways to make money, and I've been thinking about this for, oh goodness, I'm that old, 25 years now since I started my first company. And yeah, so please connect with me on LinkedIn. That is my #1 channel for communication. And I'm very happy to continue sharing with you new ideas. And if there's anything in your career that you need, you have questions, whatever, feel free to just send me a message. I mean, people message me all the time, and I'm not able to personally answer every message, but everything that I can, I try as best I can to respond personally to everybody who sends me a message on LinkedIn or a particular query. So please do that. Connect with me on LinkedIn. That's my number one method of communication. And if there's anything I can do to help you, please feel free to ask. All right. Good. So it's 11:07, and I had promised to give 6 minutes for people to chime in, but I would really like to get started with this. So here we go. Okay. Please put your questions in the chat if you have them along the way. This is a steerable ship, and I am very happy to go in the direction that you guys would like to go in. So scaling and growth strategies. This is a picture of me when I started my first company. Okay, so my first company, I was 23 years old. My wife and I moved to Estonia, which is a very small northern Baltic country. And it was really just because my father had gone through like a kind of a midlife crisis. And he was like, hey, son, if you want to do something crazy with your life, you should do it while you're young and you still have time to clean up the mess. And my first wife and I, we both had very, very good jobs. We were in the corporate kind of space. She was a retail manager. I was the inventory manager for a very large manufacturing company in Canada. And both of us we were making good money, but I could see where the end of that road went, right? Like it was a white picket fence, a suburban house, 2.5 kids, a dog, and soccer on the weekends. And I was like, yeah, I just want more adventure than that. So I told my wife, look, if you're interested, let's just sell everything and move to the other side of the world and start a company. And she's like, oh, that sounds really great. So we did that. We moved to Estonia. We started 5 companies there. 4 of them we exited. 1 we buried. My screen is not to fit. Sorry, Anis. You should be able to see my entire screen now, yeah? All right. Yeah, so we moved to Estonia. We started a few companies there. It was very easy to start a company, but it was very difficult to get it to go well. So the first year, remember, this was like 1998, post-Soviet Estonia. There were no VCs, there were no accelerators, there was no incubator to start from. So we just started, and it was a lot of running around on the street and pumping everything we made back into the company for about a year. Actually, for the first year of my entrepreneurial journey, my first wife and I, we ate potatoes almost every day, potatoes, onions, and ketchup, because that's all that we could afford. And we ended up becoming malnourished after about 9 months. But it was close to the end of the first year when we finally got our perfect product market fit, and we found something that really worked in the market, and people started to buy into what we were doing. And then after that, we started a few other companies, and one of those companies was an events production company. And so you'll see me there as the very first DJ for our events company, because we didn't have a DJ and there were no DJs at that time. So I bought the equipment and I learned to use it, because that's what entrepreneurs do. You buy the equipment yourself, you learn to use it yourself. And I don't know if anybody's ever told you this before, but number one strategy in entrepreneurship is to be mindful of the fact that it's going to take a huge amount of effort. It is like having a child. And I know that because I've started 5 successful businesses. I'm also raising 5 kids. And starting a business is like having a child. It's just 2 years of no sleep, and there's a lot of screaming, and most of it's yours. And you're always trying to save it from killing itself. But if you work hard and you're dedicated to it, and you don't take those days off that everybody else is expecting, then after a couple of years, it's got its own momentum, it's got character of its own, and you can leave it alone for a little while and it won't die. So I'm very excited to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned about startup strategies. And here we go. These are the top 10. Number 1 is product market fit, scalability, technology levers, customer base expansion, customer retention and loyalty, strategic partnerships and alliances, marketing and branding, customer feedback and iteration, investment and funding, hiring and building the right team. So we're going to go through each of these fairly quickly. I do want to leave quite a bit of space at the end for Q&A. And so I'm hoping that this entire presentation won't take more than 25 minutes to 30 minutes. So here we go. First thing, like I said, product market fit. I've started, like I said, I've started 5 companies in Eastern Europe. I've started a couple of more companies here. I lived in Yemen for 5 years and started another company there. And one of the most difficult things, the most important things to get right is product market fit. You have to make sure that whatever product you're creating has a market that actually wants it. And that market needs to have a vacuum for whatever your product or service is. So if you find yourself constantly trying to convince people of the benefit of your product or your service, then probably you're either not the right product or service, or you're not in the right market. You'll know when you have product market fit because you won't really have to sell it. You'll stand in front of somebody and they'll say, hey, I have this solution. And they'll say, oh, I need that, right? Like it's an actual, it's a solution for them. They love it. You're adding value to their lives. And so the money that it takes for them to access that product or service becomes a secondary concern to the quality that they're going to, the quality of their life or work or operation that you're going to improve as a result of the product or service that you're offering. And I love this particular product that's in the picture there. The ostrich pillow, I think is what it's called. I saw somebody on a flight not so long ago, maybe 3-4 months ago, actually wearing this pillow. So I was shocked when I saw it come up on I think it was a television commercial maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I saw it for the first time. And I was like, nobody's ever going to buy that. But clearly people buy the ostrich pillow. There is a market for it. And this is one of the basic principles of supply and demand, right? Like if there's a supply in the market, there's probably also a demand in the market. And if there's a demand in the market, then you can become that supply. So I want you to think strategically about how you're actually going to find out what your customers need, what their preferences are, what the market trends are. How do you find out whether or not your product is a fit for your market? And how do you find out if the market you're targeting is actually your market, right? Because you don't need to target a market, you need to target the one that needs your product the most. And I don't want you to fall into that sacred solution trap, which I fell into. My fifth company was a clothing company, and I started manufacturing a brand of clothing that I really, really loved and no one else wanted. And as a result, I think maybe close to $50,000 I lost on that. And I was in my mid-20s at the time, so that was $50,000 was a lot of money at that time. And yeah, I just burned it all because I didn't pay attention to the market. I didn't ask them what they wanted. I produced something that I wanted and realized that I was the only person in my market to market to. So, yep, that was not a great strategy. But yeah, so if you find that you've designed a product or a service that nobody wants, and you've already looked at 3 or 4 different kinds of markets for it, bury it. Okay. It is way, way more fun and way easier to make a new baby than to try to raise one from the dead. So if you find that you've built a sacred solution and you're the only person that really wants it, then get out of it. All right. Niche market and niche target customer segment is absolutely the best way. Amrei, that's an amazing comment. And I absolutely agree with you. Most of the products and services that I produce I don't produce products anymore, but my services now are completely niche market. I love what I do. I coach only large company CXOs and entrepreneurs. And the only reason I still coach entrepreneurs, because it's not lucrative, by the way. The reason I coach entrepreneurs is because I was one, I am one. My whole career is serial entrepreneurship. I haven't been an employee since I was 23 years old. I haven't had an employee since I was 43 years old. And just in case you're wondering with the math, I'm 48 at the moment. And so, yeah, so I've got a huge heart for entrepreneurs, which is why I agreed to do this strategy session with you. So definitely find your niche, match your target, get the product serving them, and you'll know where you find it because it'll feel like your product or service flies into a vacuum where you're actually solving an incredible problem for your target market. Scalability is the next big strategy, and scalability means your business can grow without without a proportional increase in resources or cost, right? So if you're if your cost of production is 80% of your gross margin, scalability means that if you duplicate that process over 1,000 times, then your cost of production will go down to 60% or 40% of your gross margin, which means you're going to make more money over time because your product or service is scalable. I'll show you what that means in the next slide because there's a really good graphic for that. But the factors for a scalable business model are very simple. Automation, making sure that repetitive things are done automatically, making sure that that your processes are automated so they can be easily transferred from one person or one steward or one technology piece to another, digitalization of those processes, so leveraging technology for transactions, communication, operations. I use Trello. It's a free thing. I use monday.com. There's a lot of different great digitalization tools out there for automating basic business processes that you don't have to pay for in the first couple of years. And I don't want you to fall into that trap too, that you think that because you need to be scalable, you have to invest in these massive software pieces. You really don't. I really encourage all entrepreneurs to stay as lean as you possibly can. Work from your grandparents' garage if you have to. But for the first couple of years, you stay as lean as you can. Do not make those executive hires. Do not invest in massive software solutions that aren't your direct product, right? A repeatable sales process, I think, is a huge key to success. Making sure that whatever you do for sales can be done over and over and over again, can be done automated if possible, but can definitely be done by different people so that as you scale, you can expand your market reach, right? And then flexible infrastructure. So making sure that you build whatever office or spatial or logistical infrastructure you have that can accommodate growth. So keep it in the cloud rather than buying your own servers, that kind of thing. Rental vehicles in the first couple of years rather than buying your own vehicles. That's the sort of thing that makes sure that your infrastructure is not just scalable, but it's flexible. So if you need to get rid of some of those assets as variables, you can do that. This is what growth, a scalable model versus a non-scalable model looks like. So in a growing model, you have revenues and costs that grow proportionately together. So if your revenues are growing up, but your costs are also growing up at the same level, then you're always going to need investment, right? You become dependent on the investor, or you become dependent on investment because there's not actual scalability. Scalability is when you can see statistically, you can see in the numbers that the revenues go up, but the costs go up at a disproportionate rate. So the costs are going up as you become bigger, as you have higher revenues, but those costs aren't going up at the same rate as revenue. And if you're looking for an investor or VC to invest in your company, this is the number one thing they're going to want to see, right? Not just your top line, not your EBIT. They want to know what the scalability model is. So they want to see the rate of growth for your revenue and the rate of growth for your costs. And they want to see that they're growing at different rates. And that is going to be the number one indicator to your investor that they're buying into something that's good. All right, so the next one is technology levers. I think this is massive I probably don't have to tell you this. It's basic. I said I was going to cover the basics, but I don't want to dwell here too much. Just tools and platforms for making sure that you're as productive in your operation as you possibly can be. So in marketing, there's like social media and email and content management systems. Personally, for all of my social media, I use Hootsuite. It's been a great program for me. It automates all of my social media postings. I write my content. I have a brand manager that deals with all of the visualization of that, and they take care of all of the tagging. But all of the content is then scheduled on Hootsuite. So about a month in advance, I have my content going out at a regular pace. And I also have been able over the last couple of years to build up around 2 years of evergreen content that can be recycled. So in my social media marketing, people are seeing things that I produced up to 2 years ago. But because they haven't seen it in 2 years and kind of a lot's happened in their lives since then, they won't recognize that they've seen it before. So evergreen content on social media and automating platforms for posting like Hootsuite allow you to create a lot of content over a long period of time and have it in a kind of cycle. The trick to that is just to make sure you're reviewing your cycle so that you're not posting anything that's really outdated. and making sure that everything that's in your cycle, your posting cycle, is actually evergreen. So it makes sense today, just like it did a year ago. The next thing I think is customer support. So help desk software, chatbots have been really good. I have WhatsApp on my personal website, and I have somebody that monitors that for me to make sure that everyone who has questions about me and my services can have those questions answered immediately. And then whatever inquiries are really important, she forwards those to me. So I have somebody that's filtering that out. And then, of course, CRM systems. And like I said, I use Monday.com. I've also in the past with my client companies used Pipedrive, and that has been a very, very good tool for us. In operations, project management tools, cloud storage, collaboration platforms. I've used a number of them over the years. I think, again, simple is better. Don't invest in the really complex ones, at least not for the first couple of years of your business. You really need something that's fast, efficient, and simple to use, because you're going to need people to pick it up, and you're not going to be the only person that's using it. So make sure that it's fast, simple, and clear and easy to learn, right? And technology improves customer experience by making sure that they get faster response times. We live in the most complex, convenience-oriented time in all of human history. And studies in media and marketing now show that when a customer posts a review or a comment or something on social media, they expect a response within 10 minutes from the company. And that is a huge expectation to try to meet. Yes, we are living in that era of communication expectations when your customers, if they post something on social media or they send you a message, they expect a response within, I would say, 7 to 10 minutes maximum. So make sure that you have those kinds of response tools where people can communicate with you and you can communicate back with them in an immediate fashion, right? And then also make sure that your recommendations for products and services that you're providing are personalized. This is hugely important. Every person in the world now, you included, have the expectation of an individualized experience for every purchase you make. And that makes purchasing really, really inconvenient for you as a product and service provider, but it needs to be super convenient for your clients. So they need convenient purchasing processes so that they can decide how they want to make their purchase, how they want to pay, options for payment plans, options for different payment schedules or different package offerings or different basket offerings. The more choice you can give to your clients or to your customers, I think the better, but don't give them more than 3 options in any particular choice tier, and don't give them more than 3 tiers, right? So say, what do you want? You want blue, green, or red, right? And if you want, okay, so you want blue, right? Okay, so what do you want? Small, medium, large, right? Okay, so blue, and you want medium, and what do you want? Do you want faster delivery for a little bit higher price, or slower delivery for a lower price? And then they can choose. But don't create too many tiers or too many options on each tier, and that'll help to gamify the experience of purchasing for your clients. Technology levers look like this. This is just today's generative AI startup landscape. So these are some companies that are right now using generative AI that are currently under development with funding. And of course, my favorite tool is probably also your favorite tool, which is ChatGPT, that's been developed this year and kind of like blew up into the masses. I really enjoy ChatGPT. I think it's fun. It's not it's not perfect. It's not amazing, but it is really useful in terms of generating content, checking grammar, spelling, suggesting, like, if you're writing a really angry email to a client because of non-payment or something, it can really help you to soften up your language. You just like take your angry email and you copy it into ChatGPT and you like say this in a nicer way, and it'll just rewrite it for you, and it's usually pretty good. I remember my first exposure to ChatGPT was with a friend of mine who many of you will know. His name is Dave Crane. He's a pretty popular keynote speaker here in Dubai, and he was the one who introduced it to me because I'd heard about it, but I hadn't really used it before. And he pulled it up, and we were just chatting about something, and he's like, "Suggest 50 names for a podcast led by 3 guys who are in different areas of the world that are just starting new businesses," and it just went. Created these incredible options for us. So yeah, it was cool. I really encourage you to play with it if you haven't played with it, and also to pay attention to all of the other generative AI tools that have been and are being produced now. Because look, your business model, your industry probably won't be disrupted by AI in the next few years, but companies in your industry that use generative AI will definitely disrupt those that don't within the next 3 years, and that's something you really need to be paying attention to. Question from Matana. Yes, if you have a great product that is not selling well, should I bury it or incorporate it with my other successful products or give it as a bonus for free? Okay, Matana, you and I have different definitions of the word great. if it's not selling, you either have the wrong price or the wrong market or the wrong product. If it really is a great product, it would sell. Sorry. Look, I love you guys, honestly, but I am not here to tell you what makes you feel good. I'm here to tell you what makes money. If you want to make money, you have to make a product that your market actually wants, not the one that you think that they should have. And that's a really difficult lesson for entrepreneurs to learn, is to make sure that you are targeting properly and you are creating the kinds of products and services that your market actually is asking for. So I hope that answers your question. Great question. This was my learning cycle in ChatGPT. And no, I did not produce this particular graph. I found it online. I thought it was hilarious. This is exactly the experience that I went through when I was learning ChatGPT. Wow, ChatGPT is able to answer all of my questions. It's super cool. And then I was like, wait a minute. Actually, it's pretty limited in its scope of information. And even though it sounds really good, it's not very, very accurate. So I'm like, oh man, I can't use it to write like an article, at least not one of my articles. My articles have a kind of an academic expectation attached to them. So I can't use it to write an article or a chapter of my book or anything like that. So I'm not able to use it that, but it's pretty good when I need a lot of different ideas, but I don't expect it to produce a right answer or a correct answer. So if I need just a lot of ideas, then ChatGPT has been very, very great. And so now I use it for idea generation and, like I said, to retone something, whether I'm writing for a book or an article, or whether I'm publishing in Forbes or whatever. I sometimes use it to say, hey, listen, I think there's a more concise way to say this. Can you suggest 3 or 4 different ways that I could say that? And it's very, very useful in that sense. So it's not, no, ChatGPT is not going to solve all of your problems, and it's not going to replace all of your employees, and you should definitely not lean on it 100% for everything. Actually, you shouldn't lean on it 100% for anything. It's just a great generative suggestion tool at the moment, but don't trust its accuracy for anything beyond that. All right. Next one is making sure that you can expand your customer base. Once you have your base customers, you need to expand them, right? So your customer acquisition channels are digital marketing, partnerships, and referrals, basically. So make sure that you're investing in your SEO, that you're investing in PPC advertising or social media advertising nowadays. There's a huge debate now about out-of-home advertising, and companies like I helped to found a company called Life on Screen, which is very good for selling by the minute out-of-home advertising in niche markets, and I think that's a great solution. But I wouldn't, if I was just in a startup, I wouldn't invest a tremendous amount of money in anything that's print. I wouldn't invest in like television commercials, radio commercials, or large billboards, because the impact of those is not going to be as great as targeted social media marketing these days. Remember, keep in mind all the statistics you've heard about how many hours a day people are spending on their phones, right? You're one of them. You spend probably 4 or 5 hours a day on your phone, statistically speaking. So you want to make sure that you're meeting people where they are. They're not spending 4 hours a day on the road driving by billboards. They are spending 4 hours a day in front of their phone. So they're on Facebook, TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're on LinkedIn, and those are the channels that you want to be leveraging. And Google, of course, you want to be leveraging Google. Targeted marketing strategies include those like segmentation and geographical expansion strategies that help you to expand to different segments of the market within the same geographical location and to different geographical locations within the same segment. So If you have a product that's targeted to young, well, let's say first time mothers, right? If you have a product, a baby product that's targeted to first time mothers, then expanding your geographical location means you're expanding to um, different places. You might say, oh, we want to target first time mothers in Saudi, or first time mothers in Kuwait or Qatar. And that's a great geographical expansion. And then a market or a segmentation expansion would be, you're not just targeting first time mothers, but maybe you're targeting first time fathers as well, and that could double your market. And if you're targeting first time mothers and first time fathers, maybe you want to target with a slightly different product or service offering. You target multiple child parents, or single parents, or expat parents, or grandparents who have to look after their children, who have to look after their grandkids rather. So those are different ways. Just make sure that you're expanding one step at a time. That's my biggest encouragement to you, is do not conquer the UAE and then suddenly decide to conquer Japan. Okay, that is not a great strategy. If you're going to do a geographical expansion strategy, move one step at a time, right? Conquer a region first, then go to another region. Regional strategies have been very good over the last number of years. Most global companies in the world now have become regionalized. So at the top operational and at the product and service offering level, you will find them offering regionalized products and services with regionalized overhead and global group level support. So make sure that you're conquering one geography, then a next. Read a great book not so long ago called 5 Mile Famous. And it's an amazing look at how you can create a tremendous amount of momentum, market, and revenue in just a very small geographical radius. You do not need to conquer the world. In fact, I recommend that you do not try to conquer the world. Conquer your mountain first, conquer your block, conquer your section of the city, and then conquer your city, then conquer your emirate, then maybe you can conquer like your region. Okay, so that's going to be the big thing. And then make sure you're paying attention to market, medium, and message, right? When you're trying to expand your customer base, one of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs making is they don't match the medium and the message to the new market, right? So if they're we're targeting first-time moms, and then we're targeting first-time dads, we need to make sure that the medium, so that is how we're going to communicate, whether it's out-of-home advertising or social media or networking events, that medium is targeted toward those first-time dads, right? They might not be in the same medium as the first-time moms. And then we need to make sure that the message is tailored exactly to them. We don't want to use the same message to communicate to the dads as we do to communicate to the moms. And you definitely don't want to do that across geographical boundaries either. So make sure that you are tailoring the medium and the message to the market that you're trying to expand into. And it's an easy way to remember that is just the 3M, right? 3M, one of the biggest companies in the world. Yeah, market, medium, message. Talents, yes, I see that. Expanding by creating, providing more services, products that complement each other. And honestly, that is a huge key. Talent is just to make sure that whatever services and products you're creating are a natural amendment to what you've already done, right? Because you don't want it to be so weird that people don't trust you as a result of it. It's like, why, you're selling me tires one day and then you're selling me mobile phones the next day. Like, it doesn't make sense. So make sure that whatever product or service you're offering is a natural addition to the basket of products and services you're already offering. Good. So expanding your customer base, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to this. This is the basic strategy for market penetration. You're looking at increasing risk as you move from market penetration to market development, and as you move from new product development to diversification. So increasing risk is when you're developing a new product in a new market. That's very risky. So you'll see that at the bottom right-hand corner there, diversification. And I know that people say that diversification is a great strategy. It is an expensive and risky strategy, especially for an entrepreneur. So you want to make sure that you're up as much as you can into that top left quadrant until you have enough revenue that you can fund expansions over into new products and expansions down into new markets. Okay, so make sure you're very comfortable in your market penetration strategy and you're getting good solid net profit revenue from that from that strategy before you expand with increasing risk into a new product or a new market. All right, next, customer retention and loyalty. It is way easier to keep your current wife happy than to find a new wife. That's my metaphor for that. Yeah, look, every human has a loyalty drive. When we find a product or a service that we like, or we find a person that we deal with that we like, when you find a hairdresser that you like, you just kind of keep going back to that same hairdresser. And when you find a product that you like, you just keep going back to that same product. And that kind of loyalty drive is built into us because we like to create routine and ease, and we like to know that we're going to get what we expect. And the only way we can know that we get what we expect is because we've already experienced it before. So customer retention and loyalty is way cheaper than market acquisition. Repeat customers are more profitable, they're more cost effective, and so you want to be paying as much attention as you can to the existing customers that you already have, right? And you can enhance customer loyalty by rewarding their repeat purchases, and by engaging with them, by providing personalized recommendations or experiences, by addressing their specific issues promptly. Again, speed of communication is a real key to customer retention and loyalty, and exceeding your customers' expectations. And the only way that you can exceed your customers' expectations is to know what they are, right? And for that, you have to ask. So yeah, look, I said there at the bottom, like this is a really big lesson for entrepreneurs to learn. Customer isn't always right, but being together is more important than being right. Do not argue with your customer. You do not want to win an argument with your customer. You want a long-term relationship with them. And if you want to keep them buying products and services from you for the next 10 years, you have to let go of the 3-month plan for customer expectations. Recalculate those expectations. Try as best you can to provide for them in a way that's meaningful for them, and a way that establishes that loyal relationship. Because at the end of the day, no business is making a decision about anything ever. Okay, companies don't exist. Companies are just a collection of human beings playing economic games together. So Apple doesn't want anything, Microsoft doesn't need anything, and Tesla has never had an opinion, ever. So every business deal that's made between a company and another company is a deal that's agreed to by a person with another person. It is an interpersonal relational thing. And yes, they have criteria on both sides, pricing and delivery and expectations and scope of work and all of that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a human exchange. It's one person shaking another person's hand saying, yes, something from your economic game is going to improve the quality of our economic game. Yeah, so make sure that even though you recognize that the customer isn't always right, you don't want to win. Okay, winning a customer is right conversation is not going to get you what you want. So be selfish enough to let go of your justice issues. Strategic partnerships and alliances. I've made a couple of really great decisions here, and I've made a really couple of gloriously bad decisions. In my entrepreneurship journey, I have, like I said, I've exited a few successful companies. I've buried a couple of companies, and one of the companies that I buried, it was actually it was a consulting firm, and I just had I got into a really bad partnership, and the partner that I had betrayed me in a way that I did not expect. And I don't think I could have seen it coming, but I was very, very trusting at the time. And I ended up going bankrupt as a result of the experience. So even after I'd exited my other companies, like I went bankrupt and lost everything. It was a devastating experience for me. But you know what? Bankruptcy is not fatal. I didn't die. I cried out all of my tears for a couple of days, and I got back to work, because guess what? At the end of the day, I am an apex predator. And so are you. You are the product of 10,000 successful iterations of an improving evolutionary design. You have everything you need in you to survive the world. And every ancestor that's ever come before you earned you the right to be born by surviving the world. So don't worry, you'll be fine. But yeah, strategic partnerships and alliances are really, really key to getting things done because they create amazing synergies. If you're able to find a way that your product or service can work with somebody else's product or service, and you can do mutual marketing together, that becomes a really great, easy avenue for revenue, new revenue streams. And I have a number of people in the market that do co-marketing with me. So, for example, I do leadership training, executive coaching, and strategy for the companies that I work in, and I work with large companies like Microsoft or Emirates or United Nations, but I also work with smaller companies, SMEs of like 400 employees down to 200 employees, and then I work with a few startups. I have a few places in my coaching roster that are just saved for entrepreneurs. But what I find is that when I get into the boardroom, which most companies can't get into, like I'm very often in front of the C-suite of large companies like Eand or Arthia, and they say, "Hey, listen, you're kind of intelligent about business. Do you know somebody that does this?" And so me having that network of people that provide those services, I'm like, yeah, actually, you know what? I do. I can provide that service for you, either indirectly or directly. And so I have these great synergies with companies all over the UAE that provide services for my clients that I don't provide. And that just means that my clients love me more and my friends make money. So finding those synergies can be really helpful. They give you access to resources you wouldn't have access to before, or market territory or a segmentation that you wouldn't have had access before. And that becomes really important in terms of your leverageability and scalability. Marketing and branding. There's a strong brand creates differentiation and builds trust with its company, with its customers, and that's true. You want to make sure that your messaging is clear and it's consistent. And I don't want to spend too much money or too much time here on marketing and branding. Just try to keep it lean as much as you can. Like I said, don't spend a lot of money on embroidered pens or billboards, because chances are the marketing that you need is very targeted. So again, content based and social media based is definitely the way to start as a small company. So these are a couple of examples that I like. This is, of course, it's a big brand, right? Febreze is a huge brand. I really like the brand. I really like the product. Actually, I have Febreze in my house, and no, I'm not commercially involved with Febreze, and they're not paying me for this. But I really like this messaging because it's clear, it's consistent, and I'll show you what I mean. Like 60% of people who are exposed to bad odor have a bad mood, and I just think that's very clever, right? Because it's true psychologically, and yeah, I just think, it's very clever to show you this. Bad odor makes it 84% harder to remember our memories. So they're attaching their product, which eliminates bad smells, to your ability to remember your memories. What that means is, in the message, you're thinking about your ability to remember things that are key to you. And every person that sees that message is thinking about a memory or their ability to remember things that are key to them. So every person who sees the advertisement sees and hears exactly what they want to see and hear. They hear and see their own memories. And so it becomes a really great leverage point, because you have this emotive lever where you attach it to people's memories and say, every person has their own memories. But Febreze has found a way to attach your personal memories to their odor elimination product. I just think it's really clever. And people stay up to 80% shorter on average in places with bad odor. And in a region like MENA, or a place like the UAE, where hospitality is such a huge value, I just think it's very clever for them to say this, because everybody's going, oh no, I want my friends, my neighbors, I want people to want to stay at my house. It should smell nice, right? And now, so suddenly it taps into an insecurity about your ability to be hospitable, where their solution is for a problem that you didn't even know you had, right? And so maybe you'd be looking back into the last few visits of your neighbors, and they'd be like, oh yeah, they left pretty quickly, so maybe my house smelled bad and I wasn't aware of it because I live here. Well, anyway, so Febreze is tapping into those emotive things. Very, very simple messaging, very bright colors, very clear, very consistent, very targeted. I think it's just a great example. And then customer feedback and iteration. I think this is probably the most important principle you can know as a startup is do not wait for your product or your service to be perfected before you launch it, right? Launch, okay? First of all, your product and service is never going to be perfect, okay? Because you're not perfect. We are not prophets. We are not gods, okay? So yeah, practice doesn't make perfect because nothing makes perfect. Practice makes done, and done makes money, and that's what you actually want. So this is how practice makes done. You create a product or service, you throw it out to the market, you get some feedback, you correct your product or service, you throw it back to the market, you get some feedback, you correct your product or service, you throw it out to the market, you get some feedback. And that is what iterative design looks like. And iterative design is being used in every industry now. And I think it's a great principle for startups to remember is don't wait for your product to be perfectly packaged or perfectly designed. Just get it into the market and get the feedback as fast as you can. Pull the trigger, nudge the bullet. All right. And make sure that you have great tools for capturing your customer responses, right? Make sure that you're responding to customer complaints or queries as fast as you can, and make sure that you're being as personalized as you can. And that will help to make sure that your iterative design routine has the best quality of information that's available to you. On investment and funding, I don't want to spend a lot of time here because I think there's another person doing a webinar about investment and funding, but funding options include venture capital, angel, crowdfunding, bootstrapping. And for me, my method of choice is bootstrapping. And if you don't know what that strategy means, it means you need to pull up your bootstraps and just get to work. Like I said, in my first year of entrepreneurship, I ate potatoes. I didn't drive a car because I didn't own a car. We took buses everywhere. It was all public transit, potatoes, ketchup, and we just lived in poverty trying to get our company up and off the ground. And that's bootstrapping. But what it meant was that I owned it. So all of its failure and all of its success belonged to me. And I really like that approach. And remember, I know it's tough, but try to recognize you are an apex predator with 1,000,000 years of successful survival and adaptation stuck in your head. You're going to be fine. Yeah, just pull up your bootstraps, get to work, put in the long hours. I think one of the best bootstrapping stories I can tell you is just that in my 20s, when I was starting my companies, all of my friends were at the club and I was in bed because I was tired. I was working all day. My friends, the guys that I grew up with in high school, I went to college with, they were watching TV, playing video games, and I was in the library. I was studying. I was getting my first master's degree. And yeah, it's making those hard choices to put in the work, put in the hours, and expect yourself to be disciplined and to work hard in order to get this done. And if you do that bootstrapping strategy, then everything you have will belong to you. And then you don't have to give up too much of your company until it's already making enough value that you can exchange that value for something that's really actually meaningful to you, right? So pitching and due diligence are the most important ingredients in getting investment and funding. When you do want somebody to back you up financially, make sure that your pitch is tailored for every particular investor. Okay, each investor is their own market segment. Do not pitch the same thing over and over again to each VC, right? Research the VC. What are their priorities? What have they been buying lately? What would be a great synergy for the companies they already have? And make sure you know your market. Make sure you know your VC or your angel investor before you pitch to them. And if one of my mentors in my 20s told me this, if you can't explain it in 30 seconds, you can't explain it at all. So make sure that you have a 30-second elevator pitch for anything that you're doing in your company. And yeah, that's it. Due diligence is making sure that you prepare the necessary documents and financial information. Everybody knows your valuation is garbage, by the way. For the first few years, you're mostly making it up, and everybody knows that, which is why I say do not focus on your company valuation or what you think your EBIT multiplier might be. Focus on the scalability. Okay, focus on revenue and cost growth and the difference in growth patterns for those two things, because that's what your investor is going to want to see. Your EBIT multiplier is not very interesting. Your valuation definitely is not correct. It is not accurate, and everyone knows it. So focus on your scalability model, and then you make sure to answer the most important question, WIIFM, what's in it for me? Okay, so everybody, one thing you can count on is human selfishness. Everybody is in it for themselves. And we know that the most effective form of selfishness is together on teams. So it's not like we're all individualistically selfish. That would be bad. That would be anarchy. But our companies, our countries, all of our bonding together and working together is a reflection of the fact that our best form of survival is together and on teams. But ultimately, everybody's going to want to know, like, if I play for your team, or how am I going to benefit from it? How is my output of effort or resource going to benefit me? So make sure that you're focusing on their view of their selfish gain. Right. This is the last one. Hire and build the right team. I think is probably the most important one as well. Make sure that you're lengthening the hiring process. Do not hire your brothers and sisters and aunties just because they're close to you in blood. Hire people that are actually going to work and do the work well, right? So this is one of the things they learned at Google. And if you haven't read Work Rules by Laszlo Bock, I really recommend that. Lengthening your hiring process to make sure you're hiring the right person is very, very important to your success. And keep in mind that as a startup, you're not going to have the kind of salary base to offer people as other larger companies would. So you're going to have to sell them something different, right? Don't sell them money, sell them meaning. Meaning is new, the new money. And this is really important, because when you're selling your team membership to somebody who's really talented and you want to bring them into your startup, you're not going to be able to bribe them. So you have to tell them, look, come in, this is our model, this is what we're doing. Sell them the dream, right? And if you sell them the dream, then they're going to dedicate their life not to the project but to you. Okay, you are the dream, and if you want people to follow you, you have to be going somewhere worthy of their followership. Keep in mind also that performance management is garbage. That's actually not a thing. Most of the management sciences now are coming around to this idea. We cannot manage people's performance because they are also apex predators and they are selfishly aligned, and they will do whatever they want when they're not being managed, which is 98% of the time. So if you're focusing on performance management, like, you do this, you stay for this amount of time, you're definitely absolutely going to fail. The only way to get this right is to make sure that people are managing their own performance and that they're selfishly aligned to perform well when you're not in the room, when nobody is watching them, which is like 98% of the time. If they don't believe that their activities with you are helping them to solve their own dream or build their own dream for their own personal life, then they're not going to be behaving the way that you need them to when you're not in the room, which is most of the time. So give up on performance management, go for meaning and human connection. And dare I say it, love. If you feel that you love the people that you're working with and they feel that they love you back, that is the most powerful form of management. Okay, that is the most powerful form, or the most valuable form of human capital you can possibly find. So yeah, hire for character, train for competence, and your job description is to hire well, to clarify vision, and then to get out of the way. And that is one of the most difficult things for startup CEOs to do, is to hire the right person, because you're constantly hiring the person next to you instead of the right one. Clarify vision, because very often startup CEOs don't have a clear idea of where they're going. They're just being as nimble as possible. And then stay out of the way, because look, if a new company is like a new baby, it's your baby, and it's very difficult to leave that baby in the hands of somebody else. So those are my big strategy tips for startups. I have gone a little bit longer than I had expected, but I'm very happy to answer any of the questions that you have. And I would love for each of you to connect with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is there at the bottom. My website, drcorrieblock.com. And I will be sending to each of you a special offer for business coaching, if that's something that you're interested in and you think you might want to spend some time with me. So any other questions that you'd like me to answer? I've got a few minutes here before I have to go. Thank you so much. Asuwaju. Asuwaju? Yes, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, Emre, definitely. I'm gonna send it out in a PDF to all of you. I'll be honest with you, like it's been very good. I'm one of, if not the top business coach in the UAE now. I've loved my relationship with Creative Zone, which is why I've been with you today. But I hold in my heart a special place for entrepreneurs because that's my career path as well as an entrepreneur. And so even though I charge my corporate clients a ridiculous amount of money for my strategy and coaching, I charge entrepreneurs a fraction of that. And so I'm happy to make a few spaces available to you if that's something that you're interested in. So are there, oh, talent, are there methods to properly ignite the inner flame and great talent for my company? How to properly share your message without sounding needy? Okay, so this is a really, really good question. Yes, if you want to get people selfishly aligned with you, ask them why they're there. Everybody is in your company for reasons that have nothing to do with your product or your service. Okay. Nobody wakes up in the morning passionate about tires. They don't wake up in the morning going, oh, yeah, I'm so excited about selling tires again today. No, that's ridiculous. What they're there for is they're there for a good quality of life, career trajectory, to learn and grow and develop in their career path, to provide for their kids. They want to feed and educate their family. They want to take care of their parents in their old age. So get them to be overt about their personal reasons for being there, and then help them to attach what they're doing today with what they're trying to achieve in their personal life. You being here today selling tires is how you take care of your family, right? This is you feeding your family, educating your kids, putting gas in the car and food on the plate. You're caring for them by moving these tires around the world. This is just an economic game. It's not sacred. It's not special. It's just a game. And as we move tires around the world together, my family eats, your family eats, Karen's family eats over there, Imre's family over there eats, and all of our families get to eat because we're moving tires around the world. It's a very arbitrary game. It's not sacred. It's just a game. And if we learn to play this game well and we play it well together, then our families are going to eat more often and better quality food than other people who are playing our game. So I would make sure to tap into their selfish reasons for being with you. Don't pretend like you're a charity that's worthy of volunteership. If they're really that passionate that they would just follow you to the ends of the earth, then they would work for you for free. So nobody's working for you for free. Find out why they're actually there, and then connect what they're doing today with what they want to accomplish in their life. Very quickly, dealing with a competitor who's powerful and predatory, who you're trying to make, who's trying to make you work for them rather than go into your own business. Look, it's just a game, right? But that is a very, very scary strategy for startups. So what you do is you find a niche that you can tap into that they haven't tapped into, or you become a parallel product for them so that everything that they go into, you become a natural fit for. What it means is basically, rather than creating your own waves, you find the wave that they've created and you start to surf on it. I don't have enough time to go into that particular strategy with you right now, but let's put it this way. If you can't beat them, join them. That's a good strategy. But that doesn't mean you have to sell out to them. And it doesn't mean you have to collapse, right? You just need to produce a kind of product or service that rides along with the momentum that they're already producing. And then all of their efforts become your gains as well. All right, so that's all I have time for today. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Please reach out to me, and I will send you an email with a PDF about my coaching services. And any of you who want to connect about that, I'm going to reserve five spots for people that are in this webinar. So thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. I hope it was valuable for you as it was for me, and I look forward to hearing from you. All right, cheers.